Welcome to Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. In this episode, we'll be listening to bookshop.org ABCs of Selling eBooks, a session that was presented at Winter Institute 2025 in Denver, Colorado.
Can y'all hear me okay? Am I close enough to the mic? Okay, cool. Thank you. Please flag if I stop. I'm Amy Grieco. I work at Bookshop. I'm the director of digital products there, working on the ebook platform. Do you want to enter?
Yeah, I'm Andy Hunter, the CEO and founder of Bookshop.
And we have trapped you all here today to talk about ebooks, every bookseller's favorite topic. Let's make sure I can move. Okay, cool. So just a little housekeeping here. Please silence your cell phones if you can. We're going to save a ton of time for Q&A. So please keep your questions to the end, and there'll be someone running a microphone around. So please wait for them to get there and then ask your question into the microphone. The antitrust guidelines were on day 3, so y'all are probably pretty good with these. They are especially important in ebooks, which I will give you a ton of gossip on later if you have that in the Q&A. So we're going to take you through, we've got you here for 60 minutes. We've got you here for 59 minutes. I'm just going to do a quick tour through the ebook market. We'll talk about our solution. I'm going to show you a little bit of the sales trends that we've seen so far in ebooks. And then we'll have, like I said, at least 20 minutes for Q&A. All right. Okay, cool. So the current state of the ebook market. How many of you were around for the Kobo days? Oh, good. Okay, cool. I was too, actually. I was working at Kobo at that time. So please feel free to yell at me later on. Things have chilled out a little bit since that point in time. That was when we saw a lot of tech companies getting into the ebook space. Barnes & Noble had a really aggressive push with their Nook reader. And of course, Kindle was doing what Kindle always does. Right now, the current state of the market is that about 20% of the total market is ebooks, but it represents only 13% of book revenue. The reason for this is twofold. It's because ebooks are priced lower. They're less functional than a regular book. You can't read it and pass it on to your mom, for instance. You can't do all of the things like display it on your shelf that you could do with a hardcover or a paperback. But people are finding them, and we are seeing that there are certain genres that are really taking off in ebook. 7 out of 10 readers use a tablet to read ebooks. So a tablet being defined as like an iPad or an Amazon Fire, something that is has a color screen that you also can use to do other things like surf the internet. This is an old stat, but just to give you guys a sense of how large the self-published market is, 46% of ebook revenue at Amazon is from that. So that includes both individual sales from self-published authors, like a book or a couple books, but then also products like their Kindle Unlimited product or their Prime Reading product as well. And then just to note that like the 2.5 billion is our US market only. We are also looking at expanding into the UK. That's our kind of next big project, but we're just going to talk about the US here today. So I love this stat because, when we talk about ebooks and we talk about reading, I think a long time ago there was a sense that people were going to totally throw away their print books and just move completely to a tablet-based reading. But what we're seeing now is that there's a lot of people who kind of are really voracious in their reading habits and really widely spread over what formats they read in. So I can't believe that 75% of Americans have read a book in the last year. But let's take solace in that. And of that, 30% have read an ebook in the past 2 months. And 40% of all bookshop.org customers have read an ebook in the past 2 months. A bunch of people are listening to audiobooks. As you guys know, audio is handled by Libro FM, but that's a growing part of the market. And I think also something where you can see people using different types of books for different reasons, right? An audiobook on a long trip, but then when you get to your vacation destination, maybe a hardcover, And just to keep in mind that even though I'm sure all of you have people who are coming into your store and saying in a snotty voice that they only read ebooks and they can't buy anything in your store, well, they can now, A. And then B, most people we're seeing are going to do a mix of different things. Maybe they don't need that Michael Connolly book taking up shelf space in their house, but they really do want it for the new Allie Hazelwood or whatever. Okay, now the exciting part. So this is our solution. We have just launched our new ebook app and ebook sales platform. Thank you. I will tell my mother about that. So this came out January 28th, which is, I guess, a little bit like a month ago, give or take. It feels like a month ago and it feels like 7 years. We have launched an ebook app, which is available on Android and iOS platforms. So that means if someone has an iPhone, they can read. If they have an Android tablet, they can read. You're also able to read in your web browser. So people who don't have any of those dedicated devices can still read right on their computers.
I want to add that we launched with something that was pretty simple and bare bones. And even in the past 4 weeks, we have done significant improvements to both apps. And we're going to continue doing that. We're iterating really fast. And it's a great feedback loop because when customers are saying to us like, oh, I want to support you, but I really need to adjust the line spacing, or I really need a real dark mode, we try to turn that around as quickly as possible. We respond to the review. So if somebody leaves a bad review on Apple because we don't have a feature and we put that feature in place, we respond to that review immediately. So we're being really proactive. And the idea is that by the time it gets to your websites, which we'll talk about later, it's as perfect as we can get it. And so we're really like, if you read some initial impressions, you might want to check it out again. And in 3 weeks, in 4 weeks, it's going to be even better than it is now.
Great. So currently we don't have a dedicated device. I've been finding kind of mixed opinions on this, but do you guys know what e-ink means? Anybody? Okay, yeah. So an e-ink device is like the Kindle Paperwhite, right? It's usually they're gray, and the paper, it kind of looks like paper as opposed to being shiny like a screen. So we currently don't have one of those devices. We just have the app-based reading, but we got a ton of feedback after we started, and people were really saying that they're having a lot of success on a certain type of Android tablet called, Books, B-O-O-X. So we have started answering feedback around that, really tweaking our app so that it looks really good on that reader. So if you do have people who come in and are really pushing around e-ink, that's a great direction to send them in. Did you want to, anything else?
Yeah, we're just considering whether or not we want to do an e-ink device. We are talking to some OEM manufacturers about what that would look like. We might test the waters by trying to do a Kickstarter and see if there's enough interest that, basically break away from the Kindle, start supporting your local businesses when you read ebooks. And if there's enough interest, like Kickstarter is great because we can get pre-orders and we can also gauge the interest. And if the interest isn't good enough, then we won't hit the Kickstarter goal and we can go back to the platform. And if it is strong, then we have clear indication that e-ink is something that people want, and it would also allow us to pay for the manufacturer. So that's probably what we're going to do. I'm not 100%. I'd say I'm 80%. So, so if we don't end up doing that, don't be disappointed. But I think that's probably the best strategy. And if we did that, it would probably be summertime-ish.
So right now there are 3 ways that customers can find ebooks. The first is our app. People can, I curate that. It's got all kinds of like genre page, subgenres. There's all kinds of great stuff in there. One thing to know about the app, both iOS and Android, is that you can't purchase ebooks directly within the app. The reason for this is that app stores take a pretty hefty cut of any sale that you make through their apps. So that's 30% of every sale would go to Apple or to Amazon. This happens to be the exact full profit on every ebook. So this is a pretty common way. So people actually need to find the ebook within the app, add it to their wish list, and then go to the bookshop.org website to purchase it. This is pretty common. This is how every other ebook platform works except for Apple. So if people are used to ebooks, they'll probably understand this already. And if they're not, the thing that we've been saying to explain it to people is that we want that profit to go to independent bookstores as opposed to going to Tim Cook. So that's the reason that we decided to do that. So within the app, you pull up a book that you like, a little button will appear at the bottom that says add to wish list, which you can click. The price also appears. So if someone says, oh, great, this book is only $2.99, I want to buy it, and clicks the price, a pop-up will appear that says add to your wish list. People then go to bookshop.org, make sure they're signed in, and on their wish list page, the first thing that appears will be their digital wish list. Yeah.
And one great thing about that is that if it's your customer already on Bookshop and we already have that customer cookie to your store, even if they download the app because they read a news article about it, and then they add something to their wish list, and then they go to bookshop.org to buy it, if they're affiliated with your store before, they'll still be affiliated with your store and you'll get credit for that ebook sale.
The second way people can find ebooks is we have a dedicated landing page. It's bookshop.org/ebooks. So that's where people can find their library if they would like to read on a web browser. That's where you can sort of scroll through curation. This will be a slightly smaller curation than we have in the app. I think right now we have 10 lists on there. But that's a way for people to just make sure everything they're looking at is going to be an ebook and kind of start from that point of view. Currently, we don't have a way for bookstores to make lists that could appear on the ebook page. I've heard that that's coming in April. Yeah. And that at that point, I'm sure I'll work with Justin and stuff to reach out to you. I'd love to start featuring ebook lists from your store, which could be, either a list of sort of ebook originals if you want, or just a list of books that you think are especially good in ebook or good for travel or whatever. But yeah, my approach to curation has been very straightforward. Here are the new releases, here are the bestsellers. So I'm really looking for some cool and interesting content from you guys to feature. The third way that people can find ebooks is if they go to any product page and we do have an ebook available, just clicking on that product page will bring up every format that you can buy the book in. So currently we started with 1 million ebooks. That's all of the big 5. That is Open Road eBooks. That's also Ingram CoreSource. So with Ingram CoreSource, we get people like Grove and Norton and Kensington. Via distribution clients, we get people like Grey Wolf and 7 Stories. What we're currently missing, but we do have contracts signed and they're coming soon, is Bloomsbury, Source Books, Scholastic. And then we also have an agreement signed with a company called Draft to Digital. They are one of the biggest self-publishing distributors in the U.S., and that will get us a huge number of, those big indie authors who you may be able to carry a little bit in paperback or maybe not carry at all. So we'll be bringing those to the store as well. An interesting thing to know about ebooks, and this is, we can get into this more in Q&A if you have specific questions, but they are all sold under, or for the big 5, they are sold under a type of sales called agency. It's very boring and the taxes are really complicated. None of that is relevant to you. All that is relevant to you is that the prices are set for the ebooks by the publishers, and the prices are set the same across all ebook platforms. So the price that you have on an ebook from Random House will be the same price that Amazon has, that Barnes & Noble has, that Kobo has. And if any of you are fans of discounted ebooks, sign up for BookBub or similar, the vast majority of books that are discounted in that list will also be discounted for us.
Just a quick anecdote. When I was trying to raise money to start bookshop.org, I was introduced to a group of Silicon Valley investors, and I did a Zoom call with them. It was about 12 of them. And as soon as I finished my presentation, the guy was like, so you're competing with Amazon. Can you beat them on price and speed? I'm like, no, we can't beat them on price and we can't beat them on speed. And then he is just like, well, there's no way you'll succeed because that's the only thing people care about. Now, we proved him wrong. None of those 12 people invested, but we did prove them wrong. But now you can compete with Amazon on price and speed. Ebooks will go to the customer exactly as fast as they do if they buy it from Kindle, and the price will be exactly the same for 85 or 90% of the ebooks, and all the big 5 ebooks will be exactly the same as on Amazon as in your store or on your website. So that whole tactical advantage is gone, and you have the ethical advantage.
And then the last thing I want to touch on, when we launched with a smallish slate of DRM free books. DRM, do you guys know that term? It's kind of like my Amazon. I also don't like Amazon. Anyway, DRM is digital rights management, and that is something used by the publishers to ensure that ebooks aren't pirated. There are obviously a lot of ways around this, but we have very strict contracts with publishers saying that we will take very good care of their ebooks and not let them be malused in any way. This sometimes comes across. I've heard a lot of people in our drop-in sessions ask about whether people actually own their ebooks or not. And it's kind of a touchy question, I think, especially with what we're seeing from our friends in Seattle nowadays. So I do think the best way to think about the vast majority of ebooks that come with DRM is that people are purchasing it, but it really only lives in one space. You can't take a book from Bookshop and send it to your Kindle to read, unfortunately, as much as I would love to be able to do that because so many people have those devices. For DRM-free books, those are titles that the customer can download, can move to any device that they would like to use them on, can push them around. I will say, just so you know and so you can share with your customers, we're never going to go in and remove a book from somebody's library. Even if that ebook goes out of print, if Britney Spears decides she doesn't want her memoir out there anymore, if a user has purchased that ebook, they always have access to that ebook. And there's a section in our contracts that says we're allowed to retain an archival copy so that someone who has bought the book before it was taken off sale can always re-download that title. So there is a perpetual access built into the way that we are selling ebooks. Did you have something? No, okay.
Well, we're making it easier for people to find ebooks, DRM-free ebooks. That was one of the biggest customer complaints we had when we launched. Was that there was DRM and they couldn't find the DRM-free titles. But not only are we adding filters so that you can easily just browse the DRM-free ones, but Amy is diligently trying to onboard more DRM-free publishers so that we have a larger DRM-free selection. And the DRM-free books, you can send them to your Kindle if you want to, or your Kobo. So it's a great option. And I think that once we roll that out, which should be in the next couple of weeks, that'll make all the anti-DRM people very happy.
And we actually have a publisher that's come to us and said, we want to experiment with selling our books DRM free, but we want to do it in kind of a controlled environment. So they're going to offer them to us DRM free. We will be the only platform that has them that way. And I think they're doing this because there's kind of a belief, and that I agree with, that an independent bookstore customer is probably less likely to pirate a title. So I think that's going to be a really interesting experiment. The publisher has sort of piracy monitoring. And if that works, I do think that's a platform to going to, maybe other smaller publishers and offering this as a solution. So that's something that we're looking at down the road. We do, but like I said, we are getting a lot of questions around the idea of ownership of ebooks. And I just want to stress that the way that we're handling it is in keeping with the way that the publishers demand, and also in keeping with the way that other large ebook platforms work. Okay, the best part, how ebooks can support your bookstore. So any ebook purchased from somebody affiliated with your bookstore, you will get the full 30% margin on each ebook. I think this is the same as Printworks.
Yes, but it's a little different because with print, the 30% margin is roughly the profit. Whereas ebooks, this is exactly what the profit is. Like 70% goes to the publisher, 30% goes to you. We don't have any kind of processing fees. We don't have any fees to onboard. We don't take a dime. We're going to pay for the platform through selling advertising to publishers and by doing some affiliate and direct sales, which will then contribute to the profit pool and start paying for the platform. But anything that you sell off of your site or off of your social media or anything that anybody affiliated with your store just buys on Bookshop, you will get the full profit margin.
And I read everything in ebook. I love reading ebooks. I could wax poetic about their unique qualities, but I won't. But just a few kind of pitches on how this could work, I think, really well for an independent bookstore. We will have every book in popular series, even series that have gone on for 40 or 50 books. So if you're a bookstore that's has limited space, maybe you can only stock the first and the most recent. This is a way for people to go through that series without you having to stock all of them. It also, I think, can really help on shelf space for those big old fantasy series. I also think it's interesting to think about the way that ebook deals could work for you convincing people to try a new author, a new book series, a new genre even. This is just a really easy way to say, like, this book is $3. Like, just trust me. Just dip your toe in there. And then finally, we're going to have a lot of genres of books that maybe don't make sense to stock at your store. We have contracts signed with Wiley for things like technical manuals. We're getting a lot of kind of like teaching manuals or study guides that will be up to date. Things like that, I think, could be really helpful if someone comes in and you just don't have it, you don't really want to special order it. You can always point them to the ebook store. And then also, there are going to be titles that are surprise bestsellers, especially under this administration. So if everybody has started reading a book about Greenland and there are just no print copies left, you can point them to our ebook store where we will have it in stock and be able to deliver it instantly to people. We are also, April's going to be a big month for ebooks. We are also integrating with Indie Commerce. How many of y'all are on Indie Commerce? And how about Book Manager? And Shopify? Cool. And I guess Square is the other one I should ask. Okay. So we'll be integrating with Indie Commerce in April. This is going to be very similar to how the Libro integration has worked. When your customers come to the product page for a book, there'll just be a little button that says buy this in ebook. People can click on that. They'll automatically be cookied to your store and just be sent to the product page on Bookshop where they can buy the ebook. We don't have a direct date on when we will get Book Manager or Shopify launched, but just know that those are on our roadmap and we do want to get to those.
I think, I had a great meeting with Book Manager yesterday. I think we could probably, they're very motivated. And it's the same API. So we'll build this tool and Book Manager and Indie Commerce can use it. So my staff hates it when I make public commitments to dates. So I'll say I would really love it if it was available by Indie Bookstore Day, but I can't promise it, but it would be amazing if it was. And so that's what I'm going to shoot for.
Yeah. Another thing I should mention is coming. This will be the second half of the year. This is unfortunately not April. But we're talking to Kobo around having a little button and purchases where people can just send that ebook directly to their Kobo device. So there was a big push, and I'm sure you have lots of customers who do own those. We've been doing meetings with them. They need to do a little bit of coding on their side, but hoping to have that launched in the second half of the year. So that's another thing to tell folks who have an e-ink device and don't want to wait or whatever. Is this one yours, the share links on social media?
Oh, no, it's just like another way to sell ebooks. You'll be able to curate lists of your favorite ebooks. You can share links on social media and in email. We're going to have a very streamlined sharing to purchase flow within a couple of months, maybe sooner, where somebody doesn't have to, for example, log in or create an account to buy it. They can just visit the ebook page or visit a shared quote if you want to share your favorite quote from a new book, and they'll be able to just buy it. We'll create an account in the background, but so they can basically open the link, double-click Apple Pay, and then start reading the ebook. That is like my holy grail of how easy this should be, and no other ebook platform has allowed that kind of purchasing flow to be that easy. So that's my goal, and hopefully it'll be done this spring, and that'll make the conversion rate for social sharing great. And if a new book comes out that everybody's talking about and you want to put it on TikTok or something like that, you would be able to do a quote share and have pretty much instantaneous conversions with no hurdles.
Cool. So then just a note on what I've seen our sales trends in ebooks. This is like my favorite stuff to talk about, so I'm thrilled to. This is just our first week. These are our top 10 bestsellers by units. Coming from a more commercial background for ebooks, this is a truly insane list. This is a really unique customer, I think. I have been trying really hard to tempt these customers with John Grisham books for $2.99 or Daniel Steele for $2.99, and they are not interested, which is disappointing because I love those authors, but this is a great list, I think. So the third column over, I just call out what type of book it is. So sale just means it's something that the publisher has discounted to $3.99 or less. Those have absolutely been our fastest movers. We feature them in the app. We also feature them on bookshop.org/ebooks. I'm also sending out a weekly email of ebook deals, which we actually have a dedicated list for this. So if you're interested just in seeing what we're featuring or what people might be buying, go to the website and sign up for that. The only full price books that we have on here is Onyx Storm. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about that. It's dragons. And then we do really well. We do really well with two genres in ebooks right now, and it may really mirror what you all are seeing in print. One is what I call sort of resistance books. It's stuff like On Tyranny or The Minister Who Spoke at Trump's Inauguration, like books like that, where people are like really interested in learning more and focusing. And then the other, it's not really a genre, but like feel-good fiction is what I call it. So like the books are set in cafes, the stakes are really low, maybe like someone's making out with a dragon or a monster. And I love these books. This is not a diss at all. So it's kind of like these two poles that people have been interested in so far, like really paying attention and absolutely putting their head in the sand and not paying attention. So this extends to fantasy novels as well, which is really interesting because one of the truisms that I always heard at my previous jobs is that the science fiction and fantasy readers really lived at Amazon. But this has been a really strong section for us, especially when these books are discounted. We just did gangbusters on a Brandon Sanderson book that was $2.99 that we featured over the weekend. So this is great. I think this is a really interesting customer. And I think it probably reflects what you are seeing moving at your store. And I do think that, eventually I want to get to the point where we're sending you kind of monthly bestseller lists so you know what's moving on our store. We're going to build a top charts into the app so that people can see what's moving. And I think that's a great opportunity for us to get some more author involvement. Like authors always love to see their book at the top of the charts. The other thing I want to call out from here is that, we do see a lot of interest in what are just kind of general popular titles. So maybe people who haven't really paid attention to books in the past few months, but they want to buy James or they want to buy a Kristen Hanna title. So we are seeing a lot of interest in that, which I think is also quite interesting. I have not been able to get these buyers to pre-order titles. I have tried to jam the Ron Chernow, Mark Twain down their throat, and they just do not want it. So I think that's pretty interesting as well. It sounds like what you guys are doing in terms of pre-order campaigns has been really successful, and we're not seeing that pick up in the ebook store yet, despite my best efforts. Did you have any? Okay, cool.
Well, no, I do have something. I'm sorry,
cool.
I didn't know. I just want to note that maybe we had too conservative expectations for our first quarter sales, but we only have 2 months in the first quarter, and we are launching with a pretty bare bones platform. Our sales for ebooks are about 3 times our expectations, and they are already 5% of our site's revenue, which is I thought it would take a year to get to that. On Amazon, or you saw in the first slide, the publishing industry, ebooks are 13% of revenue. So for us to already be at 5% after the first 4 weeks is amazing. And we haven't even turned it on for Book Manager and Indie Commerce and other external sites, which should double it from there. So I think it's a really great opportunity. And I think a lot of people, and hopefully you're seeing this in your stores, a lot of people are hungry to divest from Silicon Valley oligarchs in training right now. And we can take advantage of that mood. It's like the perfect mood to launch an alternative to Kindle platform that supports local businesses. So I'm really excited about how it's going so far and what the potential is, and bring a new revenue stream to all of your stores.
The other thing I'll just add to that is that the sales are really steady. We're seeing about the same amount of money. I mean, obviously there was a huge spike when we had all that PR when we launched, but from there on in, the sales have just been really steady, regardless of whether, I'm sending out a deals email or an editorial email. So I think that's really good. It means that we've got a sort of a built-in audience who is excited for this, who can kind of be our baseline, and then we can just add to that as over time. Okay, great. So I think we can move to Q&A if anybody has any questions. Keep an eye out for the microphone.
Hi there. In addition to e-commerce and Book Manager, will you also consider Timber for the ebook?
Yes. Basically, we're making an API where we'll know the product group of a book. Excuse me for being a little technical, but basically if there's a hardcover, a paperback edition, and an ebook edition, then we'll just take your ISBN from your page, and if there is an ebook edition format in the same group as that ISBN, we'll return it to you. And so basically anybody who's a reasonably decent developer can use that API to just add the ebook link no matter what the platform is. The difference will be with Book Manager and Indie Commerce, they'll do some of that stuff in the background so that people can just turn it on with a checkbox. But any other platform can do it pretty easily. It's not going to be that hard to do.
Hi. If you do develop a specific e-reader for Bookshop, would we be able to sell those?
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's the idea.
We do require that you refer to the company as Books and not Books, though, okay? That's the only...
Hi, I'm Chloe from Village Books. I work with a lot of self-published authors. Other than Draft to Digital, are there any other platforms that self-publishers can use to then get onto the bookshop.org ebooks as well?
Yeah, so we currently have Ingram Spark titles up. We have agreements signed with a company called StreetLib. We're talking to BookBaby, and there's a third one that I'm forgetting. So yeah, we're happy to have as many self-published options as possible. And then the other thing that we're going to do, this will be 2026, but we do want people to have a way to just directly upload their Word documents and begin to sell on the store. So yeah, Draft to Digital will be the first dedicated self-published distributor that we have up, but very open to if you have any ones that your authors are using particularly that you'd like us to talk to, let me know.
Hi, my name is Tori. I'm from Union Ave Books in Knoxville, Tennessee. And this is less of a question and more of just FYI. Several of my coworkers have been kind of back and forth about maybe getting a Kindle, maybe not. And when we started talking about ebooks, they said that they will absolutely wait until there is an e-reader from bookshop.org because we call Kindles redacted in our store, like my redacted. So we don't accidentally say Kindle in front of a customer. No, yeah, so I know that we've had tons of customers who have come in and been like, how do I get ebooks without? So I think that this is really great. I'm so freaking excited. And also we would be really pumped about an e-reader. So,
and we would try, I would really like to put out both that there will be an e-reader and the send to Kobo button at the same time, with the idea being like, we're not trying to bully anyone into buying a new device, whatever they want to read on.
Hi, I'm Anastasia from McDonald Bookshop up in Estes Park, Colorado. My question is around kind of the data behind, I'm super curious into digging in, how many ebooks did I sell versus physical books from Bookshop? Is that going to be part of some reporting back end that I can dig into at some point?
Yeah, well, you can right now download a sales register, which has, and only bookstores get this, by the way. Other affiliates don't, but it has all the customer data. So, because we consider those customers your customers. So anybody who's a bookshop bookstore can go into the back end and download all the orders. Now, but it's just a big Excel spreadsheet, right? We want to have a great dashboard where you can look at a little pie chart of the percentage sales and see your top 10 sellers and all of that and see what has momentum. That's been in our wish list for a couple of years. We're definitely going to do it. I can't promise exactly when, but for right now, you can download that right now and do run whatever kind of analysis you want on the spreadsheet. You can probably figure out what percentage of ebook sales you're getting pretty quickly.
My name is Kathy Crowley from Belmont Books in Belmont, Massachusetts, and I'm cheating. This isn't a question. This is just to say we are so appreciative of all bookshop.org has done and is continuing to do for independent bookstores. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Kathy, I just want to say you're my mom's bookstore. So I've been in there many times.
Hi, I'm Corey from the Green Dragon Bookshop. My question right now is, because I've been building ebook rec lists, but I've had to manually go find those. Are you making a search function specifically to find books that are ebooks? And another extract for that, can you search by price point? Is this something that's in the development?
Not price point, but you can search for ebooks right now. And then we're building additional search functionality, which will include things like looking for DRM-free ebooks.
I would recommend the price one because that's sometimes I'm looking for titles, and I know you have the discount one, but some of those titles automatically come under like $5 or, like $10 or something. So that might be one for an idea. Thank you.
And are you interested as well in like ebook only or ebook originals? Would that be useful to you? Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I think we've got one in the front.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I listened to you saying about how you're responding to reviews and implementing things from reviews. How do you want, I'm so sorry, I'm a dummy. I'm brand new to bookseller world. How do you want us to tell you our feedback?
I'd say there's two ways. You can email Amy or you can email Steph or Justin. But yeah, just personal, reach out to us. We're very accessible. Anybody can always email me. I always write people back. Sometimes it takes a few days, but and all the team is accessible. So you can just reach out to us directly.
Something else I'd like to mention, especially with regards to the Books devices or just anything with ebooks, we have an incredible customer service team, which is run by a lovely man named Nathan. They're all humans. They all get back to people. So if someone comes in and has like a really complicated technical question, or if you just don't have time to sit down and like work on that with somebody, please feel free to send them to us. We are, usually they get forwarded on to me directly. But if they don't, our customer service team can take care of it really quickly.
I want to brag about our customer service team for a second.
Yeah.
We're the highest rated online bookstore in the world on Trustpilot with either 4.8 or 4.9 rating. It keeps changing, with over 30,000 reviews. And almost all of our customer service team are booksellers that were laid off in the beginning of the pandemic. So when we started booming in the pandemic, we hired a ton of laid off booksellers, and they've all been with us this entire time. And a great thing about having customer service people who used to be booksellers is they can do recommendations. It's completely human. It's like the exact opposite of these kind of automated AI customer service platforms. And we're super grateful to them. And the great thing about this platform for you guys is you will have to sometimes tell customers like, oh, you got to go to Bookshop customer service. I'm sure that somebody will come to you and say like, oh, I didn't like my ebook. Can I get a refund? And you have to say, like, email them at info@bookshop.org or whatever. But our team will handle all of your customer service inquiries for you. You just forward them to us.
And I do want to add, I was really worried that we'd launch ebooks and it would drag our overall Trustpilot score down just because it was, new and bare bones, as Andy said earlier, but it has not shifted at all. So really proud of that.
Hi, I'm Megan with the Riverside Bookstore in Oswego, New York, and I wondered if there was a way to. So we have a lot of older customers who are not super tech savvy yet like to read ebooks because they can control the size of the text, and so I think they need a lot of help setting things up. Other than like setting their account up for them right there, is there a way for us to like send them an ebook, like purchase it right where in the store through like our Bookshop account, and then I email them something? I know we've struggled with that with Libro sometimes. If someone wants to buy it, well, they're standing there in the store. Other than like logging them into their account on our computer, I just wonder if there was another way to do that.
We will get to the point where you're able to gift an ebook to someone, which it will then, appear in their library. We haven't gotten there yet, unfortunately. So your solution of logging into their account and purchasing it there, I think could be really useful. You could always add it to their digital wish list. And then that's just a simple process of clicking and purchasing. The purchase for ebooks is a little bit different. We aren't able to do things like mixed carts where you would have a print book and an ebook. People are just, a pop-up to purchase will appear. So it's a little bit of a different flow and much simpler and quicker, I think, than when you've got a big cart of things that you've got to organize. So hopefully it'll be a little easier.
Hi, this might be a dumb question, but can booksellers use the Bookshop app to read their e-galleys?
Not a dumb question. I would love to do that. We haven't gotten there. We had to prioritize things for customers, unfortunately. But yeah, I know that I always send my e-galleys to the redacted, and I would love to stop doing that. I don't think we have a timeline on that exactly, but both NetGalley and Edelweiss have been like, can we do this, please? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Susanna from Oblong Books. I'm really excited about this, and until now we've just been part of the pool. Because we have our own site, we do our own thing. But it seems like it makes a lot of sense for us at this point to join as a full member of Bookshop. And I'm curious to just be reassured about how much time it will take me to do that. And then whether or not you still are part of the pool or if this replaces the pool.
Yeah, it's really simple. I would say it's an average of a half an hour setup time. If you already have like a banner image and a profile picture from, Blue Sky or whatever, I was about to say Twitter, but I'll also redact it from now on. Then you can just use that. And it's really simple. You should probably create like one list. There are stores that don't even put up a picture and just create a kind of a shell account, which probably takes 5 minutes. But if you spend a half an hour, you can actually make it pretty, which we recommend. But it's no more time than that, and you're still part of the pool. So, it's no problem.
Hello, I'm Ariel from Folsom, California, the Sacramento area. And we've had a few customers want to do ebooks, but their concern is security of the titles they're purchasing. We have a lot of federal employees, and they're very concerned about the witch hunt. How strong is your anti-hacking or security for the titles so they can't be hacked?
Yeah, well, first of all, we've done 2 assessments where we've hired an outside firm to try to hack our platform. We did one in 2020, about 6 months after we launched. We did another one last year, and we've implemented all the critical stuff that they found. They didn't find much, but we implemented it. We also passed an audit from PRH where they hired a company to try to hack our ebook platform, and were unable to. And PRH wasn't going to allow us to sell their ebooks if they could hack it, and they weren't able to hack it. So we've done it. We've gone through 3 times. It doesn't mean, people won't try, but we really care about that, and we're doing our best to head it off. And I do think that the more visible we get, the more we might become a target. So we do really worry about that, and we try to do everything we can.
Hi, Sam Webb, Words of Windsor. When you guys are working on the integration with Indie Commerce, do you anticipate that you're just going to pull your list, compare it with theirs, and just kind of magically do that for us? Or should we be watching for things like, you're going to need to go do this, something we need to do on our end?
I think all you'll have to do is tell Phil and Geetha, I want to sell ebooks. And then they'll click the checkbox, and then you'll be done. Yeah.
Nancy from Bookworks in Albuquerque. Thanks so much. We've already been posting this all over our social. We put an email out. We're so excited. I'm really, really pleased. I love the tote bag graphic, and I have not heard that you're going to release it to us, but it's just so sassy. I want to use it. So if you think about that.
Yeah. I can't take credit for the tote bag graphic. It was Steph and our amazing designer, Rob, who worked on that, and couldn't be happier with it. I promised somebody last night at the author reception that we would do more merch with it. So I don't know, stickers, bookmarks, tell us what you want. We'll work on it, but talk to Steph.
Right here in the state. T-shirts for Indie Commerce did for
Ooh.
Hi, I'm Jill from Los Alamos, New Mexico, Samizdat Bookstore. You mentioned that Wiley, you were working with them to get technical manuals. Will you be working with any other technical companies, like, for example, Springer or any of the scientific journals?
Yes, those conversations are at an early stage because for pricing on that is an academic model, so it's a little bit different than traditional ebook pricing. But we are also talking to O'Reilly, which has a number of technical manuals. And I think I'm blanking on one. But yes, we want to bring as broad a selection as we can of those, especially of those books where, again, it's unreasonable to stock all of them in the store, but people do come and ask for them. So if there's anyone, I know you said Springer, but if there's anyone else you're especially interested in or anybody, just come up and let me know. We can get that conversation started.
Hi, Rachel at Dog-Eared Books in Ames. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but in our Libra FM app, one of the best parts is that we can put our booksellers' reviews on specific titles. Is that going to be a potential option for bookshop.org for either the physical books and the ebooks? I've had so many people tell me, oh my gosh, I went to this book and I saw a bookseller I love and their review. And I just love, and if I'm missing that feature, please tell me, but I would love to be able to upload all of our reviews toward specific titles as well there.
Yeah, we've talked about that for years, and we would love to do it. We don't have a timeline on it. I think, if you fast forwarded 3 years from now, it would definitely be on there. Maybe next year, but it's definitely something we want to do for a number of reasons. I think it'll improve our conversion rate. It'll make the customer experience better. The more we feel like shopping at your local bookstore, the better. So I really think it's a great idea, and we want to get it done.
And we have seen a huge segment of the ebook purchases are coming from the Indie Next list, which has been really nice, and that's always prominently featured. So I do think there's a lot of interest in the ebook buyers being directed towards books that booksellers like. So, once we get the bookseller list featuring up, I'd love to work with you all to do like your best of the year so far and any kind of stuff like that you're doing for your own websites.
We have one in the front.
Hi, it's Megan with Riverside Bookstore again. This may be more of a question for the audience, but obviously I want to get your ebook readers, but it sounds like that will be a little delay. If anyone is selling ebook readers, I'd just be interested. We sold Kobo ones a long time ago, but we stopped, and we have a customer right now who wants a new one. So if anyone has insight on that for the short term until this is ready, maybe find me after.
Tell them to buy a BOOX.
Books? Yes.
Our app works on them. Our app works
well.
on them.
Is
Yes.
anyone selling that in their store, or that's something that's just they have to buy?
I think you got to buy it on the internet. Yeah.
Okay.
But I will just say, for books devices as well, there's a great resale model where they're very inexpensive. So there are some advantages to buying online. You can usually find one that's in great shape, but a little used.
I will say I think you have this experience at Barnes & Noble when you worked there once. You become a technical person if you sell the device. Like, I don't mind helping people, but they're going to ask a lot. I love the devices and have that accessible, but customers will be like, you know how to fix this now, kind of thing. You're like, I just can show you how to use it a little bit. So that'd be my hesitancy a little, of just being like, I'm the face of this device now, and I don't know computers as much as you think I do.
Hi, I'm Jeff from Trident Booksellers and Cafe in Boston. I just had a clarifying question from earlier. Folks can shop for books in the app and then have to go to their account on the bookshop.org website. Is that something they can directly navigate through in the app itself, or is that they'll have to back out, go to a browser?
I mean, we keep trying to push it as far as we can with Apple. Right now, you can save it to your digital wish list, and then Apple does allow us to link to the My Account page, and then on My Account, you'll see your digital wish list right at the top, and then you can buy. So it's like 2 clicks away. I do want to try this, now that we've been approved, I want to sneak it in, add to my digital wish list, and then just a view my digital wish list button.
This is being recorded.
But we're afraid that that'll get us rejected. So, yeah. But Android, it's better. They're a little less strict. So on Android, you can navigate directly to your digital wish list from the app and buy the book and go back into the app seamlessly. But with Apple, they're trickier.
And just to note that the login the customer uses for the website is also the login they'll use for their app. Some people see that screen and think they have to sign up again or do a different one. But those should be integrated. So,
yeah, and if Apple is listening, it's crazy to do the 30% off of all digital purchases, even if it's a product that you're reselling. Like if they were asking for 30% of the margin that we had, then we could do in-app purchases, right? Because we could say, okay, Apple gets 10% of the sale, bookstores get 20%. It's worth it because it's so convenient. And then everyone could profit. But to have a model where you can make exactly $0.00 off of every ebook you sell with this wonderful in-app purchasing app on Apple, it makes no sense. So they should change their policy and allow resale of digital goods and a commission based on the margin, not the full price.
And I honestly think this has had a huge it's really influenced the ebook market. You know, I think this is where a lot of the subscription models came from because those can be downloaded within the app. I think it's where a lot of free ebooks kind of came into the space because those can be downloaded within the app and you don't have to go to a website. So it's kind of interesting. I do think there's these creatures that are evolving because of these rules.
Hi, my name is Jenny from Alcoma Bookstore. I was just replying to the person that wants a new e-reader. So we just recently bought a Bigme, Bigme, color e-notepad to test out so we could load the app and test it and see how it works. And, we're going to go from there and see. It's pretty comparable to the other one that they're sharing. And it's Android based. And so far we like it. So just another alternative for customers.
Yeah, and our team is also working on compatibility features to make it work better on e-ink devices all the time. So it's already better, and there's a bunch of stuff that's happening within the next month or so, which will make it even better on e-ink devices.
Hi, thank you guys so much for this presentation. I just have a small tip in terms of maybe companies to contact. I don't know if you've heard of the Light phone. It's a phone that is being designed, basically has like the interface of an e-reader, but it doesn't have any affiliation to any apps or anything. It gives you a map, gives you a phone, and the whole point is to divest from these big companies, get your life back a little bit.
Yeah.
And I feel like you guys could have a really great conversation. They're growing, and I think it could just be a really nice match.
Thank you. Yeah, that sounds great.
Sorry. Elizabeth from Starbucks. I didn't say that earlier. You promised us juicy gossip about ebook title prices. Did we already cover that, or did we talk about juicy gossip?
Yeah, well, when ebooks started, they were priced insanely. And publishers were all on a wholesale model, which means that Amazon was able to cut the prices down to $9.99 for a new hardcover, which totally freaked everybody out, which is kind of where this agency model came from. But I have to say, I've been seeing publishers getting pretty cheeky with it. You're seeing, I think the Ron Chernow Mark Twain is like $18 an ebook, which is still a discount from what you're getting, in the print, but not really, The Cher biography was $18, and that's just one half of it. Like you're gonna have to buy a whole other ebook. So yeah, I've been keeping a really close eye on it, and I think I think the rise in these discount ebooks and the interest in them is people saying, the customers saying, like, these aren't really worth the price that you're putting on them when they're new, and they really want cheaper titles. We've seen such a brisk, I know Allie Hazelwood is a bestseller, but we've seen that her title's moving really well in ebook, even over similar authors, because they're priced at $10.99, and that's a really reasonable price for someone being like, I'm going to read this in a weekend, So yeah, I think ebook pricing has been just a fascinating thing to look at, and I dream of being in a room where people are deciding these prices.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I'm from Buffalo Street Books in Ithaca, New York. I'm thinking about when Libro launched, and ever since, we've had a lot of great materials to pass out to our customers that help us sign them up there. I'm wondering if you guys are going to have some stuff like that for us to use as well.
Yes. You'll hear from me very soon.
Hi, me again. I have a question about, I know with Libro FM, they have the, where you can pay, I don't know exactly what it is, but you pay a price and then you get a credit every month, and you get I think it's the prices of the audiobooks are slightly lower, and that sort of thing. Have you, where with the redacted unlimited, obviously you pay and you can get access to certain books. Do you all have any thoughts about doing anything like that, or is that something that maybe is in the future?
Yeah. Go ahead.
We want to do it. It's definitely in the future. Building out a subscription model is something we're going to work on this year, but we wouldn't launch it probably until next year. We also want to make sure that we have all of the indie author community on board before we launch that, because that's going to be a really important part of that. But certainly, we want to have the equivalent of Kindle Unlimited. And unfortunately, there are a lot of exclusives on Kindle Unlimited and all that stuff. So we'd love to try to, once we have that feature, then we can try to start to get some exclusives. And really, it's part of it is just supporting independent authors too. Like that'll help us do that a lot more. But one step at a time. This year, possibly e-reader, making the platform best in class, integrating with all of your websites. Next year, maybe a subscription, all you can eat kind of model.
And I think Kindle Unlimited is really interesting because I do think a lot of the confusion around owning ebooks is coming from these types of subscription models. If y'all are not familiar, it's you pay a flat fee and then you have access to this pool of books. The pool of books changes monthly, so stuff starts dropping in, coming out, and you don't actually own any of those books. You just have a subscription to read them. So when you cancel your subscription, you don't have access to those titles anymore. So I do think some of the feedback that you may be hearing or that I'm hearing, I think just comes from people not understanding what that, what the KU subscription is. And we've seen a lot. This used to drive me crazy, but now that we're going to do our own subscription model, it's fine. We're seeing a lot of traditional publishers put a title in there, which I think is really fascinating. So much of the romantasy books, especially, are Kindle Unlimited titles. People like Colleen Hoover really got a toehold by offering their books for free. So I think it's something just to think about. There does seem to be a real power that can be generated in certain genres and authors from this service. So I'm really excited to get it for you guys and for your readers.
This one's just a comment real quick. I just want to thank you so much. I think you mentioned at Oblong, you're pretty passive about your bookshop, and we are too. We have our own website, and I always keep meaning to do better lists and stuff on Bookshop, but we're not the best at it. But I just checked it because I was like, gosh, how you work when you work. It's like up 3 times what we usually get just for the month the books have been out. You can see the breakdown, and more than 3 times just in that month.
And can I say this? We're seeing that across the board at Bookshop. Ever since November, I think we've really seen a lot of people, just as Andy was saying, really interested in divesting from these big companies.
Yeah, although we are not 3 times. Our ebook sales are 3 times, but we have been up. I think we're up 40% year over year so far, and in February we're up more than we were in January. But if you're doing 3 times, then you're doing better than our baseline. But
just the ebooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have time for like one more question. Just to shout out, write down my email address. Feel free to reach out with any questions that you have, any ideas that you have. If you want like a bunch of discounted ebooks to feature in your newsletters, I can get those for you. Like anything that you need, just reach out.
All right, thank you all for coming.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. Additional educational resources can always be found on the ABA site at www.bookweb.org. Happy reading!